back. We have finally rebranded. This is Podcast of X. I am Kyle. Danny, who are you?
I'm Danny, and I thought we're split on this. I thought it's Podcast of 10.
Oh, right.
No,
God
I'm
damn it. Okay.
or we are a podcast of Roman numeral of X. Because we want to be verbose about it. We can't have anything concise. That's not. This is a new era we live in.
Exactly.
No, Podcast of X works. I think we can. I think we can be comfortable with that one. I don't think 10 just sounds catchy like the writers of the current X-Men run believe.
Sounds weird. Yeah, it sounds weird. Powers of 10. Powers of 10. I mean, it works. I get it.
House of X works. Powers of 10. It's a fun one. You have to kind of beat it in.
Yeah. That's it's not working for me. I'm gonna call it Powers of X. Unfortunately, deal with it.
So it is written. So shall it be done.
So it shall be. Yes. So one thing I wanted to point out is that Hickman is credited as head of X in this series, and everything, even the ones he's not writing, even Jerry Dugan's
his official title.
Yeah, his official title, head of X. Is that like is that him? Is that like essentially a editorial role, or is that just, I don't know. What do you think that is? Just kind of like a.
It almost sounds like a ceremonial moniker that they're applying to him in like a weird kind of, I guess you could say some sort of camaraderie push, or I guess it's like to show he's helming it to kind of make him like the leader in moral ways than just the traditional editorial title.
I am head of X. All shall bow down to me. All shall listen. Jerry Dugan, come here. What are you doing with Psylocke? Don't do that.
All that is X must fall before me and be decided upon, for I am head of X, and thus no X will be passed before this head without any decision. I hope that's how Hickman carries himself, with his over-the-top science and conspiracy nylon boards in the background while he's building out the rest of the chapter.
Yes. I like that we're building out this elaborate like backstory of Hickman.
What's more exciting, his writing or how it was written?
Exactly. All right. So we left off last week. We learned about Moira. We learned about her lives. We also learned about the different generations of X, or the powers of 10, whatever. And we traveled from year 10 to year 100 to year 1000, learning what happens to mutants and what happens to artificial intelligence. And in this issue, we are going to learn about machines, and we're going to learn about Nimrods.
It's Nimrod!
You mean that itty-bitty soup can? Give me 5 seconds.
What is your opinion about Nimrod so far? Pre House of X and post House of X, or pre House of X and pre Powers of X.
Well, last time we went into a bit of detail about kind of like what it seemed like the conceptualization of what Nimrod represents in the X-Men story arcs and in the hierarchy of machine development. But overall, in my opinion, Nimrod always seemed kind of like a force where they were like, how do we write in an opponent that's higher than the standard rogues gallery? Like someone who is like, oh no, someone's probably going to die, and X-Men have to now decide, what do we do to deal with this? We can't just do the normal, like, approach it with our training. We have to change things up. So Nimrod's always kind of been a bit of a game changer every time he's thrown into a story, just due to his level of power and just tenacity. I mean, it's usually, like I said, it's toe and toe. Nimrod shows up, someone usually dies.
Someone does usually die.
Yeah. At least like a main character. Like someone were like, oh, we didn't expect that person to get, iced, and now they're gone. Nimrod, fuck.
All right, so you ready? You ready to dive just straight into House of X issue number 3?
Yeah. I mean, we'd hit the ground running with this one. They jump right into like the city streets, and they show you kind of like what the humans of the far-flung future are doing for their human to robot conversion upgrades. We just see Human 2.0 right off the bat.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So before we see Human 2.0, we start off with Cyclops and Magneto and Xavier, and they're just hanging out. And Magneto seems to be championing Cyclops, and we talked about this last week a little bit, but this is kind of like reinforcing that idea that Magneto is kind of like he's embracing a kind of mentor-mentee role again with both Charles and Magneto, it seems this time, and is no longer this like militant uh, Cyclops that we've seen previously from like the past 10 years, the dark days, if you will.
Yes, yes, and House of X, correct. That's where we start off in and seeing the transition to what now Cyclops is doing as kind of the point man in between what Charles and Magneto have evolved into, and we now see what Cyclops has become because these characters have now reached this point. What's the fallout tied to the characters that normally grow up around them?
Right. And essentially, we're prepping for a mission here, and they're on the dark side of the moon, right? They're on Orcus. Is that what it's called?
When they're heading off for the first mission in House of X issue 3.
Yes.
Yes, that's the dark side of the moon. Yeah, that's kind of like that throwback spot where they've had a lot of interesting things throughout the past. I mean, going back to Phoenix even with the end where pretty much that's where Scott killed Jean originally when she was the Phoenix, right? This happened right here on the dark side of the moon, right? Orcus. That was
Correct.
where the throwdown was.
Yeah.
So
we're
that's why this seems kind of like they're playing on that kind of older significance that the X-Men mythos is already flushed out.
Yes, so we're integrating a lot of the old stuff here for sure.
Yeah, but it's a pretty cool team they put together. I mean, you're looking at like very classic X-Men lineup with a few more less memorable characters put in. I like M. I think she's a cool character and she seems very strong. And sometimes she's written being like really powerful. But what is that? Husk is the other character they brought along.
Husk.
Yeah. Okay. See, I wasn't even 100% sure, but I recognized off the character design. I was like, that looks like Husk. I always feel that Husk is a strange character that never really got to shine, but seems powerful. I like her powers. They seem very, very verbose and very like drawn out. But I've never really seen her shine and have her like oh shit moment. Kind of how Pyro had a while back. So, but this is a good team. This is a good team.
So Husk could like she sheds her skin and she could like change her skin, right?
Yeah, almost in like a reactionary way, like she can shed her skin and make a skin fitting of whatever she's trying to encounter or how she wants to deal with the moment. It's a very ridiculous power, but she never really I never saw her get written in a way where she shined as like maybe like a leader of a team. But I'm glad to see she's getting some love here, at least in this chapter.
Also wanted to point out Jean Grey wearing the old first class uniform.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Wolverine's got the more classic orange Wolverine style uniform meshed in with the yellow. It's like his has kind of got more unique design. Archangel's got kind of his more modern Archangel look. Mystique is classic Mystique, and definitely Nightcrawler's classic Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
But Jean is the retroest of all, almost out of place. Like she's standing there and looking like she's like straight off of a time shift or something.
Right?
Yeah. Like I dig it though. I like that. I like that that's the Jean they went with. Because in this group, I mean, it would have made sense that they went with more of the Claremont era, like Jean, like when she was like first introduced in like the animated series, you know? That
Yeah.
Jean. Yeah. Because that seemed like that's the kind of era they're pulling from with some of these characters. But then they went with the classic. I respect that. That's a good like kind of I guess you could say historical Easter egg that they're throwing into it. And that's what we were discussing a while back with Hickman, is that he does a lot of this appreciation of the mythos and kind of brings it out and kind of puts it on display and says like, look at these things. I know about this stuff. Isn't it great? Look how it fits in here. Isn't this weird, but isn't it awesome at the same time? Enjoy.
Yeah. So that's cool. Pulling a lot from Claremont, which I like. I enjoy bringing back that old time. It seems to be always reminding us of those good times of X-Men in this run with these
Exactly.
slight snippets. And the outfit's pretty awesome. Oh, I wanted to point out, like, at this moment, I read getting ahead of myself, reading Excalibur. I was all like, dude, freaking Gambit's outfit's so badass. I thought it was like a new outfit. It turns out it's not really a new outfit. He just had his jacket kind of opened, and I don't know if I've ever seen his jacket really open. It's always in that closed, very like Neo-esque look. And I'm all like,
you've
oh,
never
sick outfit, bro. I
he's
mean,
got-
like when he's like damaged and battle damaged a little bit, sure. And then you see that like pink vest inside, right? The little like pink like
yeah, and
the
he's got
black
that
thing
kind of
was
like
wearing.
you can see like kind of like a rubber jumpsuit looking kind of thing underneath, and
But it was
it's
maybe
hard to really
it's,
make it out. Yeah, they rarely show it.
you know what? Actually, yeah, I have seen it a few times. Maybe it is drawn a slightly different that, but it was like I don't know, it was bugging me. It was bugging me a little bit, and I was like, is it just because his jacket's open? Anyways, new outfits. Everyone's getting new outfits, which is cool. I like. And some people are getting classic outfits. Moving on. So they leave off on their mission into space. And then we cut to Hickman doing his mad like scientist all these infographs, and he explains the machines, and he starts with it goes Sentinel to Nimrod progression, and it starts with Sentinels. A Sentinel is a non-sentient mutant hunting robot based on non-replicating adaptive technology. So think those stupid ass motherfuckers in the 90s animated show bumping into shit,
Uncoordinated,
not doing anything correct,
clumsy as all hell. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so these are just basic bitch robots right here. But moving forward, we get the Master Mold, which is a replicating adaptive Sentinel factory that is self-aware and capable of creating Sentinel drones itself. We've seen Master Molds in the past. Think of like E is for Extinction, right? We've seen that like rogue Master Mold out in, what was it, the Amazon? Just hanging out.
Yeah, just always chilling in his giant like throne, pumping out sentinels all day, hooked up to stuff. Also very clumsy, not very coordinated.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little worse because he's bigger, so he's got more gravity to deal with.
Yes, so Hickman's not making this up. He's pulling from the past, for sure. But moving forward from master molds, then we get the mother molds, a replicating adaptive sentinel factory that is self-aware and capable of creating master molds. While a master mold is incapable of improving beyond its ultimate sentinel state, it's theorized that given enough time, a mother mold is capable of producing purely adaptable machine-based based on nano sentinel technology. So thinking back to like Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah.
He's bringing in like the techno-organic virus that we've seen in the past, but he's reusing it for his own his own needs, his own story.
Essentially creating like the Omega Sentinels from like a type of like sentinel or nano-based infection. That kind of goes from there. Yeah, that because it's due to that type of progression that you eventually get to the Omega Sentinels.
Right. So they eventually evolve and are able to produce Omega Sentinels, which are humans infected with nano sentinel technology, and it progressively transformed from humans to machine. And we're going to go and discuss the Omega cycle in a second. But after that, it essentially evolves into a Nimrod, which is a pure nano-sentinel construct, a anti-mutant adaptive, self-aware, self-replicating, and virtually indestructible. I can't talk today.
At the top of the food chain.
Yeah, so that's Nimrods are the peak of evolution for the machines.
Exactly. And it was all broken down in a nice little like tangent that was kind of out of place because it seemed like they were going to do a lot of the expletive outlines and blueprints at the end of each issue, but this one just pops up a few few pages in, and you're just getting like a quick breakdown and like an understanding of like from this point forward, all these are going to be shown, and you now see how they correspond in the story's hierarchy and packing order.
Right. And Hickman's just peppering this in right here. He's not taking us to the future or the past. We're still sticking to the present, and we move to Project Achilles, which is a super maximum security prison. And I like that they noted that each inmate has the ability to have one visitor once a year, and that they specifically noted that no one has chosen to take this option.
This place is gritty.
That's how gritty this place is. Not even someone's mother wants to visit these people.
Alcatraz is a cakewalk compared to this place. No one visits. Oh yeah, that was brilliant.
um,
Project Achilles is something else. It's definitely was a quick. It's like we picked up pace where you're just like digesting that information about the Sentinels, and then all of a sudden they're just like, and here's some other government secret organizations going in behind this. It's like this mythos is growing so fast and so quickly, and I love how it's just laid out bluntly to us. Like some comics will do this weird expletive where they'll try to have like characters narrate what this content information is, and
Mhm.
Hickman's just like, no, here it is, just read it and let's get
just
it
read
out.
it. Yeah,
I'm not gonna hide it and sneak it to you. I'm just gonna put it out there because I have a greater hidden message that I don't want this to muck up.
exactly. And I love that. I love, like we mentioned last week, I'm loving all these like charts, graphs, and like little just chunks of information that he throws out there.
Definitely.
I want to read. I'll read a novel. I want to read the light novel, the Jonathan Hickman X-Men light novel. I would read that.
Oh yeah, I guess that. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I would definitely dive into something like that. Probably
You
get the audiobook because I'm lazy, but you know.
you think he has the ability to write a full book?
Oh, definitely.
The chops.
Definitely. With this stuff that we've seen and then some of the stuff he put back in like his Fantastic Four era or like a lot of the stuff that he probably never got to use during Secret Wars, he could just take that leftover content and make his own book.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be great.
Easily.
Yeah. So moving on, we are essentially in a courtroom, and someone's being tried, and we find out that this person is Sabretooth, and this motherfucker's looking swole as fuck.
It's classic Sabretooth.
Right? Yeah, I dig that. Like you see, because there's two soldiers behind him, and they're about like 3 feet away, but still they're looking tiny compared to Sabretooth. And I really dig this design. It reminds me of like, yeah, classic Sabretooth.
He's all yoked out, man. Watch out. He's been hitting the gym. He broke out his classic spandex. He got back on his exercise game, and he's a whole new man. Being tried by a system. The system is on trial here.
And that's pretty much what he's doing. He says, I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. I'll fuck your mother.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself. I don't give a fuck.
It's all a joke.
Yeah. And then when that happens, we get we're introduced to M Frost. She walks in.
To the Kookaroos.
And yeah. The wait, what?
Stepford Kookaroos?
I always say cuckoos.
Cuckoos or
Cuckoo,
or something like that.
Yeah.
There's only two of them now. Does that mean like another one died? Because there was 5.
I'm sure there's more. Oh, what, did they die?
I know 2 of them died. I always thought there was 3, but I only see 2 here. So
It could be another one.
yeah, maybe they got it
Just
like
out.
hanging out in the car. Keep the
She
car
fell,
running.
she fell asleep. She didn't. Her alarm didn't wake her up. Like,
We
fuck.
can't wait all day. We
Yeah, we gotta go.
got a government court to crash.
The trial's almost over.
Yeah,
Now's your time to walk in menacingly.
Gitmo was like 7 miles from here.
And she pretty much walks in and she's all like, yo, this is a mutant. He needs to be tried by mutants. So she's essentially invoking a diplomatic immunity, more or less. And
Yeah.
she's just like, yo, we're going to take him and we're going to try him for ourselves. Pretty much. And what happens? She doesn't use her powers. She doesn't do anything. She just pretty much says, takes him, right? No one, they didn't even give her a hard time.
She uses the law to her side. She pretty much breaks it down in a very, I guess you could say, she broke it down in a way that says that this issue is so touchy that if you were to move on it or interfere with it, you would cause public outcry. You would be breaking laws. You would cause much more red tape to be thrown up than if you would just let me do what I came here to do. And if you try to stop us, all of that force, that legal and bureaucratic force, will come down upon everyone here in a way that has never been shown before. And that's pretty much what it was. Is she just threw a giant law threat on the table, and that pretty much worked. That bluff got them all through. They were like, "Oh, all right, well, just fuck it, take him." We've all seen Die Hard. We know how this works. You can't mess with that diplomatic immunity. You just can't.
But here's a thing that I know Hickman's playing with time, and it kind of threw me off a little bit, because at this point in time, is Krakoa a nation state officially yet? And would this technically work if it's not a nation state yet?
Well, was it? I don't know if it was Dawn of X or House of X-1, but when Charles made his announcement, I thought that was the official unveiling. I guess the official announcement that he was saying this is now us as a nation making our presence known. At least I believe that's what happened.
Okay, that makes sense then. That's
Yeah.
I thought it was just all like, hey, come to Krakoa. All mutants come to Krakoa, and then like it started seeding the nation state. But if he actually stated that he announced it as a nation, then that makes more sense. I did not catch that.
He was just trying to generate tourist activity. He's like, come to Krakoa, stay, have a great time.
Yes.
It's like Jamaica. Yeah, but it seems like that was them making their big like reveal of just, okay, we are going to be a nation from this point forward. These are our rules. This is how we're going to play. If you guys can be okay with that, then we'll all get along fine. But if there's a problem, then you're going to see how messy that gets real quick. And that's essentially what she was doing here, is playing off of that. She was saying like, hey, it's no secret how the legal system works when it comes to sovereignty and diplomatic immunity, and you guys understand that better than anyone, seeing as this is more of like kind of a secret government court kind of situations. They get those rules, and she leveraged that against them so she could get, of all people, Sabretooth, out. Now they got Sabretooth. He's on board.
Sabretooth, yes.
They got their own. Krakoa has its own Sabretooth.
So they just take him and they bail. They're like, deal with it, deal with us, mutants, bitch. And then we cut to the Omega Cycle. Now, we all know that Homo sapiens had copious amounts of sex with Neanderthals. And so too does the AI have sex with Homo sapiens and Homo superior. And that is what we call the Omega Cycle, people. And it's essentially just the affection process and how I made it sound sexier than it was.
You did. You really took it up to PG-13 on that one.
But essentially the infection cycle of essentially seeding the techno-organic virus to coming a Omega state, essentially. So we start out with step number 1, which is infection. A human host is injected with the nanosentinel technology, and I believe we saw that in Powers of X issue number 2, right? We saw Ascension, right? So we actually have not been shown the seeding of the techno-organic virus, which I think we'll get in next
In
issue, Powers of
X.
X3. Yes.
Yes.
So we'll be shown that next episode, people. So after infection, we go to nesting. Self-replicating biology machines propagate within the host. So it's just like shit spreading in your body, getting nasty like cold. No, I guess that's replication, right? So replication is step 3. Biological machines replace the existing host systems and organs. So that's more like a virus where it's just spreading throughout your body.
Correct. Yeah.
Fun times. Do you think it hurts? Do you think it's painful in any of
No,
these states?
it seems like it's working in tandem with just your everyday bodily functions. Like, it gets to a point where it says that it's like replicating your organs with biomechanical organs.
Yes.
So I imagine having biomechanical organs is a lot sturdier and more reliable than just generic human organs. So it probably doesn't. You probably start to feel better as time goes on because you essentially become a renewed human in a biomechanical way.
Oh yeah.
But
Okay.
I can imagine at some point it's not fun.
There
There's
has
probably
to be
parts
one
of
for
it when
like
it
maybe
like
the infection point where
yeah,
it's just
like
like
it-
ah
yeah, that's
burns.
the-
It
yeah,
burns.
I was thinking at that part you were just kind of like, oh, what was that? That sucks. And then later on you're just like, oh, I'm okay. And then you're just not you anymore. Robot has swapped out your brain with robot brain. Some invasion of the body snatcher stuff on like a next level.
It is. It is. And then step 4 is dormancy. During the dormant period, the biological host is partially transformed from organic to machine. So it's just another phase in your body slowly getting taken over by the machine. Step 5 is activation. Post dormancy transformation, a host becomes operative and is capable of activating in proximity to a mutant. So this is like when you become a racist. Step 5, all of a sudden you're just like, I really hate mutants now.
You're like a sleeper cell, like a Manchurian candidate for mutants. They have like a code word that can like activate.
Yeah, and just like kill all mutants.
Yeah. Just all of a sudden, the dude at the corner market lost his shit.
He was such a nice guy. He came in every day. I don't get it.
That 75-year-old man tried to murder me with a weird blaster cannon he had built into his arm. That was even stranger. Did he always have that buster cannon? Shook his hand once. It wasn't there.
Pretty sure he had a hand.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was a hand.
Something's off.
So moving on from activation, we go to step 6, union. Post activation, the human host becomes aware of the combined consciousness of it and the sentinel directives it has been infected with. This is almost always a prolonged process that mirrors those recovering from trauma. So is this like, I always thought this is like your consciousness like still existing but kind of fighting off the robot consciousness, and then it eventually just takes over in the next step.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed the thing where it's like a weird onset of like schizophrenia where you just hear that voice in the back of your head telling you to do things. Just telling you to burn down that mutant orphanage.
You're just having a good time, just hanging out, going for a walk, enjoying nature. And then out of nowhere, just like, man, I could really kill a mutant right now.
What it is, but something's telling me I just need to set this fire. It wasn't me, I swear. It was the voice in my head. Oh. So yeah, it's an interesting progression, and then you just become a robot one day, and you're just like, all right, I'm over it. I'm over all this human shit.
Yeah, and that's step 7, adaptation, total immigration. You pretty much just like, bam, no more consciousness, gone. So you think it just disappears, or you think so what happens if your consciousness disappears? It's pretty much all robot. And that
I picture tiny little nanobots just devouring what's you and pooping out a robot replacement as it goes along. So yeah, it's you are bye-bye at some point.
Okay. And then step 8 is Omega, total machine state. You've reached 100% full AI. And Hickman shows a chart, or no, he shows a graph at the bottom.
Yeah,
And
Google it.
it's like the most pointless graph. Can we talk about how pointless this graph is at the
I
bottom? It's
I
just a
thought I was missing something at first because when I looked at it, I was like, well, is what is the greater like purpose here? Is there something that this is going to be referenced to later, or is this going to hold much more relevance than I'm seeing? And then I realized it's not really that important. It's not as important. It's just straightforward for what you take it as.
Yeah, the chart that we just discussed is all the information you need. You didn't need to bring a wheel and a graph into this
He's like, if
at
you
all.
wanted to see how it all went together in a visual representation, here it is. And you're like, well, why would I need that? You answered a question no one asked.
Although
But
looking at it longer, I'm wondering if it's like the blacked out. Like, and there would be like words there describing each state. But I don't know. No, that doesn't make sense either. No, this is pointless. It's pointless. We're moving on.
I really like, 'cause even in the intelligence and how they all work, it's still this didn't play into any of that visual representation. So, yeah, I could not find the greater meaning in this one, or at least anything more than what you really just see here and what it shows, how it shows it all connects. But could have been done without.
Yeah, indeed. So moving forward, we cut back to the X-Jet making its way to what looks like a mother mold, and it's referred to as the Orcus Forge.
Yeah, it's like a straight up. It's like if they took like a giant master mold head and put it in like a satellite, and just said, "This is where we live now."
Yeah, right next to the sun.
Yeah, right next to the sun.
Super toasty.
Like if they wanted to make something that looked like the antithesis of Magneto's like Asteroid M, they found it. This is perfect. I think it's just right there in the center, just staring at you. I'm like, why? Why is this? Why? Why did they just build it like a normal satellite? Why did they have to put the head in that way? It's very strange conceptualization where they're like, well, we're gonna we need the brain from it. We need this type of technology, but we also need the housing that goes around it. It needs its weird helmet and face.
Right?
We had to keep it. Does
Why?
it talk? Like, does it like the mouth? Like, because how Master Mold actually talks.
Yeah, it
Its mouth
talks.
moves. Does the weird Mother Mold or like a space station like actually talk at people?
Be great. It's just like there's a ship approaching.
What do you want? Can I land? No.
It just goes full Rick and Morty. Show me what you got.
I hope it talks like that. Yeah. Well, the default Master Mold voice from like the animated series is pretty good too. So I mean, if it's got that, I'm just as happy.
Yeah. And so essentially we are met with or we're not met with. Essentially they're like, yo, the X-Men are here, we need to stop them. And this dude named Erasmus, which looks like it's the husband of the scientist lady, which did they give a name to Miss Science Lady?
I don't remember 100%. I think it might have been something a little more little informal in passing, but I don't recall.
I'm gonna continue to call her Miss Science Lady. So Miss
that works.
Yeah.
That works. I can dig it.
So essentially, this Erasmus dude, which is like, yo, I'm gonna save us. He goes and he tries to stop the X-Jet, and then we're given Nightcrawler, because Nightcrawler is always the first one to hop in, right? He's like, I'm gonna go see, I'm gonna scout, and he
bamps on in.
Bamps on in.
Yeah.
Bamps all over the place.
Classic Nightcrawler. And he's rocking his sword, which is every time Nightcrawler has the sword, I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, I dig the sword. You don't see the sword that often, or you haven't.
No, not really, and not as much as like you would see it like in like the Age of Apocalypse universe. He had like 2, I think, even in that. But yeah, as of late, it seems like they've been bringing it back more.
Yes. Yeah, which I dig. So as Nightcrawler bamps around, Miss Science Lady talks to Erasmus. She's like, "Yo, they have a teleporter." And then what happens is the X-Jet was able to dock. They were all like, "Man, fucking that master mold wouldn't shut the fuck up while we were docking. What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Why are you here? Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I guess it's like if you take the mother mold concept and you put it in like any type of system, it's now, or I guess if you take the master mold computer and like just beef it up and just hook it up to anything, it's now a mother mold. It seems like that's the concept they were going off of, because
Yeah.
I really don't understand why they would have kept the head design, because when they show it the other chapters, it's different.
Yeah,
It's more of a digital concept. So like
exactly. That's what I
this,
would assume. It'd just
yeah,
be
this
software.
yeah, this whole mother mold physical representation is wonky, but I love it. It's super amusing.
Well, it gives me the notion or idea that they stole this. It wasn't like they didn't build it or they didn't make it themselves. They stole it and re-engineered it for their own purposes, almost. Because do we know what Miss Science Lady is doing? Because she's almost set up like a new bad guy.
Yeah, well, she's a part of that greater organization that is the amalgamation of like Hydra, AIM, and
Yes.
Shield agents that are all put together to like just deal with the mutant threat, quote unquote. And this is like their you could say their great headquarters, kind of like how in the MCU movie they kind of set up that one scroll space station as like the new hub for Shield.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like their greater hub to all their other lower workings. And what would be more perfect than having a master mold as the center of your satellite or your space station, but then uploading the mother mold into that, which I thought would upgrade their space station a lot more, but it still seems kind of jury rigged. But I like
It's
that.
super jerry rigged.
I can respect that. It is much more entertaining. Not as practical rationality wise, but much more entertaining comic book wise. So I love it. I can live with it.
Yes, and we mentioned Miss Science Lady is kind of being set up to be a bad guy. And I say this because what happens next is the X-Men try to breach the hole, and this Erasmus guy is like, all right, I'm going to try to save us. And he essentially blows himself up and commits suicide,
Kamikazes, yeah.
kamikazes the shit out of himself, and blows up the X-Jet in the process.
Yeah.
And this is what could give motivation to Miss Science Lady to be a big baddie. I'm gonna figure out her name eventually.
Eventually, or it may never come up. She could ascend in some sort of like biological human creature that is nameless.
Right. And I did you watch the comics explained? So Rob Jefferson mentioned that he said that this is a moment that kind of like shows a diversion in Days of Future Past. Did you get that? And I didn't really understand that concept that he meant when he explained that regarding this moment.
He said it was a divergent from the normal Days of Future Past timeline.
Or he's saying that this is showing that it's going to change Days of Future Past.
I thought he was saying something along the lines that this seems like it's setting up Days of Future Past.
Or accelerating Days of Future Past. Yeah. I think that's what he specifically said. Yeah.
That's the change. Is it's accelerating the Days of Future Past timeline. In a way, it seems like it's going that route. I mean, with Nimrod and how they're approaching that, and also the concept of the hounds is a prevalent thing. So it seems like, yeah, the Days of Future Past timeline is coming into play in one way or another.
Right. So that's interesting. And then we are left with a quote, because this is the end of the issue. We are left on that explosion. And the quote is, "For you to die, you would have to be forgotten. And no one forgets a founder of a nation." and that is from Magneto. But that is usually the end of the chapter or the end of the issue, but it is not in this one. If we move forward, we have a new infographic called Krakoan, and it's explaining the new language created by the mutant kind. And it's essentially, upon arriving to Krakoa, a telepath will imprint the language into your mind, so you just know it once you get to the island, pretty much, which is pretty cool. I wish I could do that for languages, just have like a telepath imprint all languages into your mind.
Man, would that make things a lot easier?
God
Oh,
damn, right?
jeez, I think people would. It would also solve a lot of problems because things get lost in translation and communication all the time. And think about all the wars and weird catastrophes that could have been averted over the years if we had some sort of just basic communication amongst all humankind.
Right?
This one was a more of a shocking kind of route to go. The fact that there's an actual language that is going to be mandated through what Krakoa offers, and that they give us the actual key for it, which I'm just constantly finding these keys more and more enthralling with each issue that comes out. This is a good one. Now, going back to how you mentioned you read Excalibur, what was the translation? Because they mention, and I remember you showed me that
I'm
clip
looking at it right now. I'm looking
of
trying
of
to
what
cipher it.
yeah, what Apocalypse, because Apocalypse says what his new name is. Apparently he renames himself, and he says one of these, I guess, letters, or there's a combination of it or something that kind of reveals it.
I don't see the letters. They don't seem to exist.
I think I cracked the code. It says, "Be sure to drink your Ovaltine." Oh,
God damn it.
I think that's what it says, but I mean, I don't know. My Krakoan is a little rough.
Yeah, a little rough on the Krakoan.
Yeah.
Uh,
I really don't know what it says, and I haven't had a chance to really mess with it. But I think this is just another level of Hickman's ambition getting laid out here, and I love it.
yeah, I'm digging it. I'm digging what I see. I'm digging what I read, what I see, what I imagine from what I read and see.
The
It's all good.
thoughts that are drawn within my mind, behind
Yes.
my eyes, they're all great. Give me a lot of dopamine, a lot of endorphins. These are good things. At least that's what my mind tells me. But this is a very unique thing. Like this weird letter key and like legend breakdown is fascinating and is kind of explained in another way that kind of throws back to what we were joking about with the movie tropes about, like, oh, we're just gonna let you read my mind and you know all the stuff that you need to know, so we can get past all this real quick. He writes this so fast. It's like
Yeah.
so. It's that's another thing I was touching on earlier, is that like he didn't break down what the story needed to tell you to get this information to you. He just shoved it in your face and said, like, here it is. Here's all of it. Here's it in its purest form, the blueprint. Here's the blueprint of what I'm doing. You can read it, and the story will continue, and you have the information in mind moving forward. You don't have to waste pages like explaining this. You can just get it all out of the way in one bulk shot. Because think about it. If they had to write it in organically in a way that the characters explain it, that would be like almost a whole issue in itself. Like the Krakoan language could be half an issue of like, say like it was Krakoa in its physical form trying to explain it to a mutant. And it's just like,
Right.
what? And they have to animate that, and it just, yeah. We lose out on great pages of Pyro cooking Moira. Can't take away from that. We need more of that. Just can't take away from it.
Yeah, so shove it in one page at the end of the book. It's a good option. Yeah, I'm not seeing this language key does not map to what I'm seeing in the latest issue of Excalibur and what Apocalypse is saying, which kind of frustrates me. I thought it would be consistent.
Maybe he's speaking an older Krakoan dialect.
God damn it! Don't you pull that shit. Don't you pull that shit. I don't understand your
Apocalypse
accent.
is really old. You forget Apocalypse is very old. He might even predate Krakoa. He might be pre-Krakoa.
He's accustomed to the Southern Krakoan dialect.
it's a form of he speaks a form of Krakoan Cockney.
It's like, oh man,
It's very versatile.
Super hard to understand though.
Yeah, very rough.
Very rough.
But yeah, that's unfortunate. Or maybe it's just one of those things where it's not quite as easy to understand when you break it down. It is a fascinating concept. If he can make it actually work a little more fluently, then I feel like this would be a little more genius and less just like, oh, this is an interesting idea. I like what you did here. This is fun. Instead, he could pull it off in a way where you're like, oh, it's really, really clever the way you wove that into the story and how the symbols played out into the little secrets and nods. But you don't want to go too, esoteric or avant-garde with these kind of things, because then it could muddy up the message that you're trying to make.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully he fleshes out a little bit more, because could you imagine that this gets on like the popularity of like a Klingon or something like that? If he could actually flesh it out.
Oh yeah, I mean, crazier things have happened. But yeah, I could see Krakoan catching some momentum. Do I want to see Krakoan catching some momentum? No, but I believe it could happen.
It's a we can do it, but should we do it situation.
Yeah, man. I took one glance at. I pulled up the symbol that the Excalibur issue has, and I tried to correspond it to the legend here, and I'm not.
Nope. Right.
Not even sure what I'm doing. So do I just put all of the symbols on top of each other? I mean, this might fit together in a way that's super obvious. This might even be a certain type of like code breaking that's common in like cryptography, or not cryptography, but in like some crypto communication.
Right.
And that's the reason why we're not getting it, is because it's something that just is completely eluded us. It's a niche internet type of language that we don't know, or science language that we don't know, or military language, espionage. But if that's the case, and you can actually find it out and like decipher it, that would be fun. Maybe he made it challenging on purpose. That's the thing. He's trying to stump us.
He's trying to get us.
Or it's a red herring. It's all red herring. Like none of these symbols mean anything. I know they mean nothing, but they literally mean nothing.
He's just trying to troll his audience.
Yeah.
This is this one moment to fuck with them.
We spent the time learning it, and then he's like, "I'm never gonna fucking use it again.
Yeah,
it's never
coming up."
Got them. He's become drunk with power.
Yes, like, what are you doing over there, Kickman? I am head of X.
I can make up a language. I made up another one. New Krakoa.
This is New Krakoan.
Yeah.
It's just all telepaths.
Everyone's just updating everybody constantly all the time. Did you get the new telepath update?
Sounds like Twitter. Sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, gee. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The suicide rate in that community would be high.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. I don't want to learn New Krakoan.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was your favorite moment in the issue?
This issue didn't have anything I want to say that was like a true standout moment, like with Pyro, as I like to throw back. But I would say that the nostalgia was probably the high point, like getting old Sabretooth and classic Jean Grey. Those were probably the highlights and probably my favorite moments. But if I had to say the standout moment overall, would have to be the expletive that went into a lot of these infographics and like just charted information like that. I enjoyed probably just as much as the overall issue.
Oh yeah, I think we pointed that out a little bit last week too. These graphs are awesome. I would definitely want to read a book by Hickman. I would definitely Just
Like a
give
companion
more
novel. He
information.
could write like a
Yeah,
yeah.
it'd be good.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe I would say my visual standout of the whole issue would be Space Station Master Mold. Like that is a very dope visual. And as
Yeah.
amusing as I say and like kind of jury rigged it is, I still appreciate the I guess the novelty of it.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I agree. For me, I agree with the Sabretooth moment, specifically just how he's drawn. Really, I loved how he was drawn. It really captured my imagination and reminded me of the past days, which was really cool. But now my new moment is just like this new master mold that we created in our minds that is always just yelling at the sun, going, "Sun, go away! I don't need you here." Just yelling at things going by.
He's
Yelling
getting
at
senile.
asteroids and rocks. So this is like people
He's
inside are just like, it's yelling again.
oh no. We accidentally corrupted Master Mold's programming. He's developed a form of robot senility. Oh geez. He won't shut up. They have to land through his mouth. He just opens up. It's just or he like spits out. I hope he spits out sentinels. Like he just opens up and a bunch of sentinels just come flying out. Like a barrage of sentinels.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It would be. This was a good issue. It really was. It was a good issue. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel like too much of a payoff issue. And
No.
it felt more of a build up issue.
Definitely building up to
Yeah.
things coming. For sure.
Yeah. To like I would say a lesser extent of what the previous issues had. Because the previous issues came heavy with the build up. This one started to get a little bit of progression of what the build up laid down. But then they stopped instantly and was like, here's a lot more build up. We got more foundation to build here. You thought we were gonna start actually building this house. The House of X isn't even built yet. This is House of X ground floor.
Ground floor. Just wait.
We're getting in on House of X ground floor build.
But yeah, awesome. That will do it for this week for House of X issue number 3. We will do Powers of X issue number 3 next week. So we'll catch you next week. Peace.